ad campaigns that don't just sell tickets, they shift culture. But for Michelle, influence isn't confined to one lane. She co-founded Top 3 Sports Group, a full-service sports agency redefining how athletes build their brands and their legacies, on and off the field. From box office hits to elite athletes, Michelle S. Duffie is proving that true success isn't just about making deals, it's about making a difference. Who is she? Visionary, trailblazer, legacy builder, blessed to be a blessing, inspired to inspire, faith-filled and optimistic. And this is only the beginning.
Thank you so much. I feel like I should just give the benediction and say goodbye, because every single person who has talked today has taken or tapped into a piece of what I am going to say today. So I guess I call that divine alignment. We're supposed to be here. And ladies, I'm going to, okay, this is funny. This is my selfie stick, and so it was in my suitcase, and I didn't want to hold the microphone. It worked perfectly for this moment. I'm gonna say a quick prayer. God, thank you so much for our time today. Thank you for a time of rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. God, please speak through my body. Give the ladies in attendance today ears to hear what you are saying through me. Give us eyes to walk out of this room to see the amazing vision that you have for our lives. Lord, I love you, and I invite you into this space today. In Jesus' name, amen. 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 All right. Leading with possibility, the power of asking what's the best that can happen. I've heard so many of you echo pieces of that in everything that you've been saying today. And so my challenge to you today, absolutely, is to embrace the question, what's the best that can happen, as you start your day, as you end your day. The power of words is amazing and transformative. And of course, I see a room full of leaders. I've loved hearing all the stories today. You all are women in leadership, leaning on wisdom. And there's so much wisdom in the room. I've gleaned today from every single one of you, from the introductions that you've given, and also from your personal stories. I look forward to connecting more with everybody, because everything that you all have said, I'm like, I need more of that. I need to tap in over there. Today isn't just about leadership, it's about possibility. I want to give a special thank you to Mrs. Lexi Carter, who met me just a few months ago, and she saw something in me and she invited me to be here today, and I'm so grateful. I know I am supposed to be here today. Thank you, Miss Lexi. Thank you also to the leadership of Willow for trusting me with this time and this space. I appreciate it greatly. In a world constantly asking, what if it goes wrong? I challenge you to ask the question, what's the best thing that can happen? Say it with me. What's the best?
What's the best
thing that can happen?
Thing that can happen.
You can actually take this out, because that was a new edit. What's the best?
What's the best
that can happen?
that can happen?
One more time. What's the best?
What's the best
that can happen?
that can happen?
Doesn't it kind of feel good to say that? Like when you think about situations, That's a question that I put in front of myself every day. This one sentence can be the change agent in your leadership toolbox for all of us leaders here. I want you to keep that question in front of your mind and journey with me for just a few minutes. We all have a story, and we all have a cover. And they say never judge a book by its cover. So we all, we look at each other and we look shiny and, hair did, and cute shoes. But you cannot judge a book by its cover. I'm going to open up the cover of my book and tell you a little bit about me, because I think looking at me, you would never know my story. I grew up homeless with my mom and my 5 siblings. There were 6 of us together. And oftentimes, we found ourselves sleeping in the backseat of a station wagon. More times than not. That's something that you won't see on my cover today, because certainly I don't look like what I came from. I say that also so that as we women come together, that we don't automatically judge the cover by what you look like on the outside, because our story really is there for us to empower each other. I remember being 5 or 6 years old, once again in the backseat of my mom's station wagon. And the beauty in that is where God gave me the divine power of imagination. And I heard someone in the room say today that at 5 or 6 years old, they talked about being a teacher. And her brothers would say, "Why do you always have to teach us?" But it's like you were speaking it into existence before it actually happened. But we would sit in the backseat of the car, and I tapped into imagination every single night. And I would create these stories for my brothers, and they were always stories of opulence, always stories about, living in a castle, on a lake, always stories that did not resemble the reality that we were living in. Where did that come from at 6 years old? How did I know to talk about a castle? Or I would talk about famous people, and one day we're gonna do this, and my brothers would tap in so much that every night it would be, tell us another story. And that's where I got the gift of storytelling. And what I didn't realize is that I was speaking to my destiny. I was speaking to my future self. And I was creating a world that I would not be afraid to walk into, because I had talked about it so much as being a little girl. All right, we can go to slide 1. The invitation into possibility. What's the best that can happen? And ladies, excuse me, the pollen in the air loves me so much. I'm in a journey right now with pollen. And but here's the thing. This is what I said to myself a few weeks ago. God, you made me, and you made the outside, so there's no way I can be allergic to what you made. So do something in my body that adjusts to what's happening outside, because I believe that he's the kind of God that can do that, so I don't need to lean in on my allergies. As a matter of fact, I no longer say that. I'm like, God, adjust my body to your world. So today, this pollen is wanting to be very friendly with me, right? What's the best that can happen? There is great power in the words you speak and the way you frame your outlook. I heard someone say that earlier, and it's so true. Every vision begins with a thought, and that thought shapes your belief. And belief is the birthplace of possibility. That's me at 6 years old in that car, believing something that I could not see. I'm gonna encourage you in this moment that no matter what is happening in your reality, no matter what something on the inside is forcing you to focus on something that's not beneficial, focus on how you want it to be. And my prayer and my hope and my belief is that your life will start to lean towards the better scenario for whatever is happening with you. When you lead with expectation instead of hesitation, when you dare to ask a better question, you don't just change your mindset, you change your momentum. I'm so happy to be in this space today. This is a space where sisterhood, alignment, and collective force, with all of that together, we in this room can literally do anything. That's how much power is in this room. Like, we could start a revolution, we could overtake things, we can build things up, but that's the power that's in this room. If we work together, support each other, that's in the room. I truly believe that. The only thing that will stop us is by judging the book by its cover. Judging by maybe what you heard someone else say about an individual, or simply our unwillingness to co-create something greater than we can create solo. And of course, while my charge to you today is to consider and embrace the phrase, what's the best that can happen, I'm going to add just a little bit more for this room. What's the best that can happen when we partner together? What's the best that can happen when we support each other? And what's the best that can happen when we lead with love and sisterhood? I am so hopeful that, I know a lot of you know each other because you're from Shelby County, Memphis. How do you work together? How do you work together? Yes, let's be friendly, let's be sisters, but how can you work together from this day forward to create something bigger than yourselves? The power is in the room to do that. The relationships are in the room to do that. If you want to know about real estate, you want to know about the law, if you want to know about mental health, everything is in the room. We don't need to look outside of ourselves, our beautiful brown selves, really to accomplish much of anything. All right, slide 2. The mindset shift from survival to vision. Default fear-based thinking versus possibility thinking. Fear is very loud, but vision is louder when you learn to listen. The question that I always ask, what's the best that can happen? It is not naive. It's not naive, it's not dismissive. It's discipline. It's a disruption from our normal thinking. We've been programmed that we have to lean into worst case scenario to solve a problem. We need to disrupt that thinking. And it's a decision to lead with purpose, even when the path isn't clear. How many of you can relate that mindset really is everything? How you think is how it is. Yeah? We can change a situation oftentimes simply by how we choose to see it. And leaders know that so well. Slide 3. What is it, slide 4? maybe it was slide 3, but we'll just keep it and then I'll catch up. We all have a personal turning point. How we think and see a situation as a leader determines how we shift our team. I've learned that transparency and testimony connects all of us, and I believe today, listening to the stories of everyone, we are more alike than not. And we should tap into our similarities so that we can do something greater than ourselves, do something greater than being an island unto ourselves, because we are very connected. I just heard the stories today and I'm like, I've been there. Oh, I've done that. Oh, I've thought about that. More of my story. Honestly, ladies, I sit in amazement looking at that introduction video. I look at it probably the same way you all looked at it. I was a little girl who struggled with insecurity, self-esteem issues, self-doubt. I lacked the confidence to do just about anything. I thought I wasn't pretty enough. Probably the thoughts that every woman has, but we don't know that they have them because we don't share with each other. I thought that nothing about me was right. That's what I'll say. That's what I thought. But favor was always right in front of me when I look back over my life. I'm gonna pause. The lady who just spoke, Dr. Kivia, same feelings. My mom passed away from cancer when I was 25 years old. And I took care of her, my family and I, for 4 or 5 years, you know, in and out of the hospital, seeing her suffer, tubes in and out of her, and just seeing the pain and the first feeling that I had. So I'm so glad you said it, because I rarely say it because people don't understand, but the first breath that I took was a breath of relief. And I didn't know how to process that until years later in life when I understood. The relief was that she was no longer suffering. It was painful and heavy to carry, seeing her suffer. So I applaud you for being able to share the story and use the word relief and death in the same sentence, because I believe that that is healing to people who may be going through a situation of loss, and the relief is God lifting something off of us. And so thank you for sharing that. I related so deeply with that. All right, so I was insecure. And it really took mentors around me to see and speak to the leader that was inside of me. Once I realized who I truly was, that's when life began. And I know that there are dreams inside of all of us that must come alive. It's never too late. I would say do it now. Dr. Miles Monroe said that the graveyard is the richest soil in the world, because that is the soil where dreams, hopes, unwritten books rest. And so in this moment, when you are alive and there's a dream inside of you, it doesn't matter age, position, status. If there's something inside of you that you are supposed to be doing in these moments, please do it. Let's not keep burying the greatness that's inside of us. Let's not be afraid to ask for help. I'm guilty of that. And let's not be afraid to partner with someone who can elevate us in our moments. I'm guilty of that also. It's important to know that this is not the time to be weary. And I know that the enemy, and whatever enemy you believe, the enemy of the mind, Satan, however you designate what an enemy is, he would want you to be weary in this season. For many of us, this is going to be our greatest season if we don't get tired, if we don't get weary. It's important as leaders to surround ourselves with people who have the ability to pour into our lives. And as leaders, sometimes it's challenging because we feel that we are at the top of the pack. Who told us that? Who told us that no one can pour into us? This is the time to surround yourself with people who can pour into you on different levels. Our assignment as leaders is to lead and to pour. And because we're pouring out all the time, being filled up and employing intentional self-care, rejuvenating ourselves, it's essential for us to keep pushing forward. It's a priority to refresh and be ready to lead. And this is the season also where you may get called to lead. You need to be ready to do that. So they say, don't get ready, stay ready. You know, that's a real saying. But take time to refuel. It's so important, and it should be a priority, because as leaders, again, because we pour so much and we're always pulled on, or we allow ourselves to be pulled on, so that's another thing. You have the option to say no. But stay fueled up and stay ready. I think my slides are a little off, but I am on slide 4 is what it says. Pillars of possibility. I think that might be it. I think, yes, we're there. Thank you all for bearing with me and the pollen that loves me so much. All right. 3 pillars of possibility leadership. Vision over circumstance. Our role is not to react, it's to lead with vision. Reacting to every occurrence is often a detour away from your vision. It's important to have vision catchers around you to manage the details so you can proceed forward with leading. There's a destination we are all pushing towards, and there will always be an opportunity to be distracted. How many people get distracted? Yeah, I do too. What I've learned as I gain wisdom and age, I become less distracted because I'm better at saying no. But what I'll say is, again, the enemy wants to distract and detour us off of our assignment. That's his job. And every time we fall for a distraction, it keeps us further away from purpose. And so it's important to stay in the moment, pay attention to the things that are coming towards you, and know when to say no and when to say yes. There is a specific assignment on each of our lives. And my excuse is always, I'm a multitasker. Like, I can do it all. I love doing it all. There are seasons when God gives you the grace to do many things, and there are other seasons when you absolutely need to focus on what's in front of you. Circumstance is the weather. Vision is your personal climate. I always say, be the thermostat. So whatever room you walk into, whatever space you walk into, carry who you are in that space. If it's a space where there's chaos, well, you're full of peace. So what should happen when you walk in the room is that your thermostat is not moved to chaos, but some people in the room are pulled towards your peace. It's important that we know who we are, and when you know that you're a thermostat, you set the temperature for every room you walk into. And that's period on that. That's what I say. And also, in keeping with that, I've heard people ask me, but what if you get there and everybody's all contentious and da 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 da. Okay, I'm gonna spread my peace in the space, and leaders also know when to exit. Okay, so it is okay to step in and to step out, right?
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't. But that as a leader, we carry that with us. Again, leaders set the tone. And so we are all leaders. I mean, filled with wisdom, filled with great circles or dots, as you said, filled with people around us that can help us navigate our moments. All right, let's see. Bold belief isn't a strategy. Confidence isn't arrogant. It's trust in divine assignment. When you know that you know that you know that you know that you know you were called to something, you're passionate about something, there's a confidence that comes with that. I encourage you to first make sure you're in a purposeful assignment so that you can lead with confidence. Leaders who believe boldly give others permission to rise. Having bold and unwavering belief inspires everyone around you. Oftentimes, what you are carrying inside of you is exactly what your sister or brother needs to rise to the next level. I had a mentor challenge me a few years ago when I was contemplating writing a book, and I don't know, and she said, Michelle, and I'm saying this to all of you, what you are carrying inside of you is the catalyst for another person's deliverance. You cannot say to yourself, the world doesn't need what I have inside of me. Oh my gosh. But our minds tell us that. It's just little me. It's just, I mean, I have a story, but what you are carrying inside of you is a catalyst for someone else's deliverance, for someone else's journey, for someone else's inspiration to get to their next level. So it's so important that we keep telling our stories. First of all, that we get in community so that we can share our stories. It's important not to be an island unto yourself so that no one gets to benefit from the richness that God has deposited into each and every one of us. You become magnetic when your belief is louder than your fear. Have you ever been persuaded by the confidence of another person or another thing? Sure you have. That is marketing 101. I'm a marketer, that's what I do. I persuade the people. So, but it's attractive and it's unwavering. And as an example, Spanx, I don't know how many people in here own Spanx. I absolutely certainly do. Or some type of lotion or your favorite burger, but that's marketing. And unwavering confidence in a thing, that's marketing, that's commercials. They talk it so well that you start to say, if I slip these on, I too will. So imagine that is our magnetic personality. If we believe it and we talk it, we draw people to us, and we can cause people to rise simply because we carry this unwavering belief of a thing. Imagine the power in that. Aligned action makes room for the miraculous. Making aligned, spirit-led decisions. This is the good part, ladies. Pausing to pray before you proceed. Before reacting, responding, or deciding, there's a moment of stillness. It's not about hesitation. For me, it's about inviting the Holy Spirit into my moment. Asking God, is this you? Is this where you're leading me? Sometimes we don't want the answer. That may be why we don't pause to pray. Peace over pressure. Even if the opportunity looks good on paper. And listen, us women, we know that so well, because sometimes that bottom line looks so sweet. But even if it looks good on paper, spirit-led decisions are anchored in peace. Not panic, not profit. If you feel rushed, forced, or like you're proving something, pause. God's timing doesn't require striving, it requires trust. Confirmation through alignment. When it's aligned, you'll see agreement. In your spirit, through wise counsel, and often through doors you did not force. When God authors it, he confirms it. I have been guilty of trying to force doors open in every area of my life, relationally, business, in family situations, because we think we know it all. Because we're a leader, we own a business, we're the judge, we own this, we own that, and so we think we know everything. We think that our way to get into something is to kind of persuade or manipulate. And we know about manipulation, that's witchcraft, that's a whole nother topic. But manipulation is not what God is calling us to do. Listen, when you're aligned, you'll see agreement. There won't be a push. I always say that I want my life to have so many moments of ease that it flows like water flows downhill. That is the natural design of how water flows. It just goes downhill. You notice that you feel a resistance when you start trying to row uphill, when naturally you're supposed to be with the flow. So there are times in life, take a deep breath, go with the flow. It's okay. It's okay. It's probably leading you to that great body of water which has more blessing in it than you trying to row uphill to get to something that wasn't for you to begin with. Obedience over outcome. My goodness, I didn't know this was turning into a sermon. All right, sometimes the decision doesn't make sense to people, but it makes sense in your spirit. If spirit is not the comfortable word for you, I say in your intuition, in your mind. It just makes sense and you just know that that's what it's supposed to be for you. Spirit-led leadership means being more committed to obedience than optics. I know there are so many times that I wanted to look good for people. And it never is the thing that God wants me to do. So it has to make sense in your spirit. And you have to be more committed, again, I say this again, to obedience rather than optics. The social media world. Everybody looks shiny and happy because they want you to believe that. It's not, is this popular? Our question should be, is this purpose? Bless you. Listen, that pollen, it loves us. Fruit that lasts. The results of aligned decisions. Here's what happens when you get into alignment. Peace. We had that word this morning. Clarity. Growth. And favor. They may not all come immediately, but they will come sustainably. They're coming. They're coming. Because God just doesn't bless movement. He blesses alignment. The future doesn't need more control. It needs more surrender. And surrender for me is peace. And when you feel peace, in my eyes and in my mind, that's God telling me, go ahead, move forward, daughter. It's all good. All right, slide number 5. Yes, we're on target. The question in action. How to apply what's the best that can happen. Let me give you a few scenarios. In the boardroom, we're all professional ladies, in strategic decisions, this is how you apply what's the best that can happen. Before shutting down a bold idea, out of risk aversion, reframe the conversation. Instead of saying what could go wrong, try what's the best that can happen if we invest in innovation. The question shifts the room from scarcity to strategy. And we all know that we cannot lead from scarcity, because leading from scarcity, all of the people who are looking at us see our fear. Scarcity doesn't multiply, it subtracts, it takes away. So you're not building business when you deal with the scarcity mindset. Strategy opens the door for solutions, calculated risks, and long-term vision. Leaders who ask this question, what's the best that can happen, unlock creativity, not just consensus. All right, I'm not sure who this is for because I know there are a lot of leaders in the room, but God had me put this in my presentation for a reason. What's the best that can happen in career transitions? Leaps of faith. When you're considering a new role, or starting something new, or leaving a comfort zone, fear will try to make a case for you to stay still. But possibility asks, what if this move aligns me with the purpose I've been praying for? What if I'm more ready than I think? This mindset helps you shift from what you're leaving to what you're stepping into. In your personal life, relationships, and identity, whether it's love, family, or healing from past wounds, possibility shows up as hope. It asks, what's the best I can happen? What's the best that can happen if I forgive? Let me rephrase that. What's the best that can happen when I forgive? What's the best that can happen if I let myself be fully seen? Rephrase. What's the best that can happen when I let myself be fully seen? And what's the best that can happen when I believe I'm worthy? In our personal lives, this question restores faith. It gives us permission to dream again, to love again, and to trust again. All right, so I'm gonna ask the room, what's the one place you need to ask the question, what's the best that can happen? Is there something happening in your personal life? Is there something happening in your family, in your business, in your friendships? It applies to every single area. What's the best that can happen? So I ask you, you can just, kind of let it marinate a little bit. What place do you need to ask that question in your life? I'm not gonna answer it right now. That's just something for you and God. All right, slide 6. I was going to do a fireside chat and have some ladies come up and join me, but God is saying shift. So I'm going to shift. I do believe that there's so much power in a collective think tank and just the power of leaders coming together, being transparent. I used to always use the word vulnerable until I read the definition, and my word now is not vulnerable. It is coming together in our truth, in our power, and being honest about what's going on. I believe what will happen now will benefit the entire room. So I'm just gonna ask some questions, and I am a bold one. I'm quiet, but I'm a bold one, and so of course if no hands go up, we just start picking volunteers. Amen. All right. What is one bold decision you have made that required you to trust possibility more than certainty? These are really 1 to 2 sentence answers, because I know she left the room, but she was like, is this a dissertation or a paragraph? I know she's gonna say that. Okay, one bold decision you've made that required you to trust possibility more than certainty, where the reality around you said one thing, but you knew something different. Yes.
Going bald.
Going bald.
I had no idea how that was gonna turn out, and I had to just Totally.
And I would imagine now that everybody says, I love your hair.
Yes, I could never imagine hearing. I will always be this way.
And so what I love is the simplicity in what you just said, because I think we always believe as leaders that our next sentence has to be so complex and over the top, when really it's the simplicity that connects us. And again, I know people say, I love your hair. What we doubted is something that blessed our lives. You received love and compliments and.
But I gave her a head full of hair. Well, she was part of it because she was like, you ought to be blind. That's after you cut it. I'm keeping it.
Okay, another question. How has your definition of success evolved? And what role has divine alignment played in that shift? How has success evolved for you? The definition of it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think for me, there were a couple of people I was very much interested in marrying, and and I could just tell I was speaking on a champagne level, and they were at a beer level. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about 30-room mansions, and they were thinking about 3-bedroom, 2-bath, that kind of thing. I remember one guy that I was gonna marry talked me out of buying a Lexus when they first, came out. Cause, that was gonna be a whole lot to fix on, So I ended up buying a big wheel. Nothing wrong with a big wheel, but I driving one, but it was just, I wanted, the Lexus, And so I had to realize that some people I have to step away from as it relates to growth. I mean, they can still be friends, associates, whatever, but we were not going to get married. Because I would always say, well, let's look at that 30-room mansion. Well, what's wrong with what we're living at here? Well, let's travel to Paris. Well, how come we can't just go? And nothing wrong with hot springs. Understand it. Let's just go to hot springs, Arkansas. Let's just go. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Let's just go to the city. So there was always gonna be that pull and pull, push and pull, And so I knew I've got to go where I know God has me going. I was kind of like you as a girl, thinking of castles and all that kind of stuff. And I wasn't homeless, but average middle-aged African-American family just coming out of the civil rights movement, and we just did not think like that. And so I was the only one to graduate from college in my family, stuff like that. So sometimes you have to separate from people, intimacy, and go where God has you.
I think what's powerful about what you said is when people can't see where we're going, they feel sometimes like their invitation or impartation into our journey is helping, when really it's not. And so it's when you know what your vision is for your life, that's what you do. A lot of people are too scared to even say 30-room mansion. So when you're talking in that circle, a lot of people are scared to say Lexus. Buick feels comfortable. Don't say Bentley, that doesn't feel comfortable. All they hear is, ooh, the maintenance, oh gosh, the repair. Listen, that's, yes.
I was gonna say, success has evolved for me professionally, because for me, success used to be getting a promotion, getting a raise, getting a better job. But now success for me is those on my leadership team being empowered
How
and
about that?
stepping into leadership and, writing recommendation letters, mentoring, and helping them to succeed.
I love that.
That feels much better.
I love that. Success for you?
Oh, me.
Yes.
Totally.
Your bestie told on you.
I now see success differently, specifically because I've lost a job during the pandemic, and then just the tech space can be volatile, and especially there's not that tenure anymore. So I just learned to shine and grow wherever I'm planted in that season. And whatever I take with me from that, it's a promotion, position, whatever I take with that, just continue to excel. And so for me, I just want to be flexible in my journey of success.
I love that. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for sharing that. Success for me is following God's path for me, because I would run from it like a fly, like, get away. But then it's still staying with me, and I'm now fulfilling His purpose. And as you said, I wrote down some notes. It's His purpose, and it's not popular, and that resonates with me. So I'm not doing what's popular, I'm doing what is my God-given destiny. So I'm excited about this, what success looks like for me in this new phase and chapter that I'm in.
I'm gonna tell you what you need to get ready for. First of all, she came in and told us that she had anxiety around her. So where's the applause for what she just said? Come on. Get ready for more of this. Come on, a little bit more, a little bit louder. I love to see transformation and breakthrough in the moment. We celebrate you. Get accustomed to applause. Get accustomed to speaking up. Be ready for it. Be ready to share your story, because your story, as you heard when Dr. Lord, my name's I promise I'm gonna get it before I walk out of the room. But when she asked how people felt when you shared your story and you heard, I was encouraged. It strengthened me. It made me believe in her. So you see what you have inside of you, that the enemy would love to shut it up. He would love that, because there's something inside of you that is a catalyst that's going to deliver another person. So you got it has to come out of you. All right, we're gonna do one more question, and I'm going to give this to the honorable judge.
Doris?
Several. So funny. Trying to be slick, but she walked this whole room with that microphone, didn't she? Trying to be slick. She did it. Okay, what advice, Your Honor, would you give the next generation of women leaders about trusting the unseen while building vision?
I would say that people, first of all, need to be fearless in their faith. I think they need to be focused on the mission, but it's got to be a prayerful mission. And to make certain that you're prepared to receive God as your inner power and inner strength, and then express it in the way He directs you. What I wanted to say to the young person, who this woman, her mother said she's really fearful of speaking up, and because that was me, and that's why I shared that thing that I wrote. But I think we have got to be, we've got to be fearless, and I also think that we have got to fight this notion of people who would not only silence us, but people who would render us invisible. And those are the things I would say.
We appreciate that wisdom so much. Thank you. Well, as the pastor says, I'm about to close. On your table, you all have a card that says it's possible. On the back of the card, everyone has a different question. This is something that I would, we have someone who did not get one? Two? No?
I just wanted to.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, ma'am.
See beyond sight.
See beyond sight. I love that so much. You have to see it before you see it, right? Absolutely, thank you so much for that. I talk about
Thank
that.
you.
I love that, yes. You have a card, and it says it's possible. Everybody has a different, question. What I encourage you to do, if you don't have a morning routine or an evening routine, at least for tonight and in the morning, that's a start. Write an answer. You can do it tonight or in the morning, or you can do it right now, but write an answer on your card and keep this with you. Because whatever it is you desire, it is possible. It really is. You also have on your table, a possibility blueprint. These are some steps to get you to where you need to be, where you want to be, where you desire to be, where God is calling you to be. One for me, I just mentioned morning routine and evening routine. What I've learned about myself in trying to do things on my own is that without God guiding me and leading me, there's absolutely no way that, first of all, I could be standing up here. Man, I used to be so shy as a little girl. When I tell you I was in a corner, so I related to your story so much. In a corner, but really there's a light inside of each and every one of us. There's a light to be at the front, and there's a light to be at the back, there's a light to be in the middle, and we have to know when the season is for us to step forward and do the things that we're supposed to do. For me in the morning, it looks like prayer and meditation. When I wake up, I have people around me that always say, "Are you always so optimistic and positive?" Yes. Was I always like this? No. But how did I get here? Prayer and meditation and journaling are a mainstay for me. I literally wake up every single morning and say, what is the best that can happen? That's my sentence. That's what I say. I wear my little bracelets. What's the best that can happen and how good can it get? That's what I say. Because it's so easy to lean into the opposite of that. It's so easy to, I don't know, put the challenges of life, family, work, relationships in front of the fact that life still can be the best case scenario. It really can be. And then in the evening, it's the same thing. A lot of people do a morning routine, but they don't have anything in the evening. And I truly believe that as we are laying down to rest, is when a lot of people say they can't sleep because their mind is just spinning and there's so much going on. That is the time to do your breath work and to relax and to say to yourself as you're falling asleep, because you will, God gave us sleep, what's the best that can happen? What's the best that can happen? So the pressure is coming in and it wants to remind you about everything that's in front of you. Just whisper, what's the best that can happen? What's the best that can happen? Your pre-programmed mind will say you should worry because it's easier to lean into what's familiar to you. And that's worry for most of us. Just try it. Just say, what's the best that can happen? All right, I promised I was closing, but like the preachers, they always do a little bit more. Women in leadership, leaning on wisdom. Thank you for having me. And as we close, like preachers do, I've got a final charge, call, and response. And you can go to the next slide. I'm gonna say something, and then you are going to respond. You're gonna respond like you believe it. You're gonna respond until it connects to your soul. You're gonna respond that in this moment, even if you don't believe it, you're going to believe it. And these sentences are a little different, so you'll know when it's time for you to say your part. You are not here to make leaders, ladies, willow folks. You are not here to maintain. You're here to create. When I'm faced with a challenging situation, I will say,
What's the best that can happen?
very good. This time is going to be a little bit louder. Legacy begins when you lead with belief, even when it feels difficult. We'll talk about feelings another time because feelings are deceptive. So even when it feels difficult, I will shift my perspective on the matter and I will say,
What's the best that can happen?
oh, we coming to the close. Now I need y'all like super loud on this one. Lead like your future depends on it, because it does. I will shift my perspective. Instead of looking at the worst case scenario, instead of planning for the worst, instead of planning for anything that doesn't benefit me, I'm going to shift my perspective to the best case scenario. And in my moment, I will say,
What's the best that can happen?
all right, so changing your mindset is essential. It's essential for me. Again, I start my morning with 2 sentences. What's the best that can happen and how good can it get? We're gonna go to the final slide. I'm also big into affirmations. I believe we should say to ourselves who we are, because the world is saying who we're not or what we should be, but God has made us all incredible. We are fearfully and wonderfully made in His image. Like everything that we need is already inside of us.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yes.
So say this with me. I'm gonna say the sentence and then you repeat it. But this is it. I was born to lead.
I was born to lead.
Now, do y'all believe that? Yes, you believe it? Mhm. I am aligned with purpose.
I am aligned with purpose.
I expect the best.
I expect the best.
And I walk confidently into it.
And I walk confidently into it.
And y'all know the line. Say it with me.
What's the best that can happen?
Thank you. God bless you. I love y'all. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. Y'all connect with me on social media. I think I'm supposed to say that Misty's gonna be up here saying you should say something. It's the next one more slide. One more slide. Y'all connect with me. All right, there we go. There we go. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. I'm so glad you came. Michelle is in Nashville. I have 3 daughters that live there. We're gonna connect up there. And yeah, I'm up there all the time, so I'm gonna call you up, see if you're in town.
Cell phone number is available.
Thank
I
you.
want to connect with all the ladies, so
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's
Thank
just a
you.
small token. Thank you.
Miss Lexi, thank you so much. I mean,
Thank
I am
you.
here because you made it happen. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you.
I love that last thing that you said about stress. I
In honor of this retreat, Vibrant Voices, we are going to award 3 women who are here today who we believe embody what that means. Vibrant Voices, leading in leadership. So we are going to have our Vice President Katrina Thompson and Vice President Felicia Boone Barnes come up and help me to introduce you to our 3 awardees this year.
Thank you, Madam President.